Hi, I'm Christy Flynn, and welcome once again to another episode of Cooking from Scratch. Today we are making one of my all-time favorites. It is a dessert, which that's one of my strengths is making desserts, but it's one of our Wellness Way favorites as well. It's the peanut butter dream pie. So, there are a few things to know about making the peanut butter dream pie ahead of time. First of all, if you have an allergy to peanuts, you can substitute out sunflower butter, so sun butter, instead of the peanut butter. I've had some people try using almond butter. It doesn't have the same kind of flavor complex, so if you want to. It's going to be a little bit bland, but it's still doable. As far as coconut, I know a lot of people ask, what can I do instead of coconut milk? You can soak and blend some cashews and make some cashew butter and use that. It's not going to be fluffy like coconut cream is, but it is a definite alternative if you have an allergy to coconut. Now, first off, with this recipe, the day before, so you want to prep a little bit so that it is an easier process. You're going to take your coconut cream that comes in a can. You want the canned full fat version. It's actually coconut milk, full fat coconut milk. And you want to put this in the fridge and forget about it overnight, because what you want that cream to come to the top and solidify. And you're only going to use that cream and whip that up. And that's what's going to get you that fluffy, yummy, amazing coconut cream that you have to resist eating because you need it for this recipe. So that being said, we're gonna get started with the crust. So the crust is about a cup and a half of nuts. Now you can do any kind of blend of nuts that you wanna do. I prefer using about a cup of pecans and half a cup of walnuts. You can do any blend based on what kind of allergies that you have. I imagine you could even use seeds if you wanted to. Whatever you can. I prefer using pecans with like either almonds or with cashews, but they just have a really nice consistency when they blend up. So we are going to use a food processor. Typically, you want at least an 11 cup food processor, but I have a larger one because I use this for a lot of things. So it's as easy as putting in your nuts. And the next thing that you're gonna want is powdered xylitol. Okay, so xylitol, sweetener. So the whole thing about the peanut butter pie, I had this recipe from before, and like years ago. This was like way back. I think after my third daughter was born, I came across this and started using it because we could avoid a lot of our allergies. We came across xylitol as a sweetener that doesn't spike your blood sugar levels. Now, it's the birch xylitol. And I noticed that some places have it where you purchase it in store, but let me tell you, I'm gonna just show you a really easy way you can save some money, and it's super fast. And let me tell you a little hint, when you're using xylitol in things, it does not dissolve very easy. So if you blend it into a powder, it's going to dissolve so much quicker and easier, and it'll make things a lot faster, that's for sure. So I use a NutriBullet. It's as simple, like again, I'm all about easy. Efficient and easy and fast. So you just pour your granulated birch xylitol into your NutriBullet, and it's going to be a little loud, but simple as that. It's as easy as that. It's so fast and easy, and then you don't have to go through the added expense. So that's how you come across that. We're gonna use 2 tablespoons. Now again, this is about like how sweet do you like it? When it comes to the coconut cream, 2 tablespoons will be just fine. Like it won't be too sweet at all. It'll be actually perfect. When it comes to some of the other, when we're making the actual peanut butter filling, that's where you can kind of regulate how sweet do you want it. And I say don't do any more than a certain amount, but we'll get to that. I'm all about flavor and taste. So when we say cooking to taste and like, okay, you need to taste this, It's because it's all based on what you want and how you prefer it. So we'll pour that right in. We also want 2 tablespoons of forgot my spatula. The favorite spatula. Well, actually, this is not Faye's favorite spatula. This is the green version. Faye's favorite spatula is the purple one. But anyway, back to making peanut butter pie. Put in the coconut oil. Nuts naturally have their own oils in them. But for whatever reason, when I make this, I want to make sure that it's coming together because I'm not going to blend it like where it's butter. You don't want to blend it too far. So you need a little bit of this coconut oil to just help it come together. And then the last ingredient for the crust, a little bit of cinnamon. I say it's optional because if you have an allergy to it, obviously you don't want to include it, but I think I prefer having that added cinnamon to it. And this literally, it's just gonna start coming together, and when you start seeing it, there, it started making a little bit of clumps. It's done, it's ready to go. If you don't already have a food processor, you absolutely need to get one because the other thing I wanted to mention, a lot of my desserts that I've come up with, they're raw. Like this is one of those that are raw. What that basically means is it's not heat. We're not baking anything. We're not cooking anything. This is something that we're taking the ingredients in their raw form. So like nuts and the coconut cream and things like that, the peanut butter, we're not baking it. We're not changing it from its natural state. And we are just creating a really yummy recipe where you can enjoy all of the flavors and all of the nutrients that come along with it. I need that handy dandy spatula again. It's our favorite spatula because it's small. That's all I can say. Anywhere you, like if you're trying to make different recipes, like I have different cheesecake recipes as well, you can replace nut, like use a nut crust in the place of any other recipe that you have, as long as and you can bake it too, it'll be fine. If you are looking for that added nutrition or you're trying to cut out sugars, like going to nuts of some sort, as long as you don't have an allergy to them, it's just a really great easy swap. So what I'm doing is I'm just pressing it into the pan very simply. It's as easy as that. So, as we all know, Reese's, the chocolate and peanut butter combination is just so absolutely yummy. In this recipe, I do a nice thin layer of chocolate, and then we also drizzle some chocolate on top. If you prefer not to do the chocolate, you don't have to, you can skip it. It's just kind of fun having that extra little, sometimes it's a little crunchy layer in the middle, in between all of the flavors. I added it, actually didn't used to have it, I added it and I never went back. I always do it now. So again, that's another one of those things, if you would prefer not to, just skip it. So next we're going to make that little layer. So what you're doing is you're melting chocolate chips. There is a bunch of different ways that you can melt chocolate chips. And again, we use no sugar, they're sweetened with stevia. And we'll use coconut oil to help with it. It helps it make it the consistency a little runnier, but then at a solid form, because it's coconut oil in the cold will become solid. So we want it to be able to solidify up is basically what we're trying to do. You're gonna use most of this on the bottom, again, just a thin layer. You don't want a thick layer because otherwise when you're trying to cut through it later on, it's going to be really hard to cut through. Again, it'll make for a really nice crunchy like middle layer, but you don't necessarily want that. Nice thin layer is what you're looking for, and you're going to save a little bit for drizzling on the top. So this is just an estimate. You may find that you need a lot less than a half a cup of chocolate chips, but this is what I've been using, and then I have a little extra, and the kids don't mind, you know, taking a scoop of chocolate as well, you know. It's all part of making things from scratch, tasting, right? Okay, so this is the only time I am turning on the stove is, there's a couple different ways. If you use a nice good tablespoon, well, let's say 1 to 2 teaspoons of coconut oil to melt the chocolate chips, they'll stay in a good, like not too runny consistency, but not too thick. You don't want it to be too thick, and definitely keep it on the lowest setting so that it doesn't, and you want to be stirring and watching so it doesn't burn. So again, you can burn chocolate, so you have to be watching it, and you don't want it too high of a heat. I usually put my coconut oil in fast.
So you can explain.
So we are just putting, you want to melt it. I like to melt the coconut oil first. Again, low heat. You don't want it any higher than low. And pour those chocolate chips in. And definitely keep an eye on them. They'll start melting right away. Another way of doing this is to do a double boiler. If you have a double boiler, you can use that. Otherwise, you can make your own by taking a small bowl and setting it on top of a pan that has water boiling underneath it. But I'll show you that another time. I have all kinds of tricks because I don't own a double boiler. So as you can see, it's melting really, really easily. The coconut oil just helps it stay smooth. And in my opinion, it keeps it from burning because you have that fat layer. So it's perfect consistency, all completely melted. You don't want any chunks in it. And I'm gonna use about probably 3/4 of it. So I'm just kind of drizzling it on the bottom of the crust here, on the top of the crust, I should say. So you want to make sure that it's not too thick. So if you see any areas, and this is at the bottom of the pie, so it doesn't matter how it looks, but just make sure that there aren't any like super chunky, like where there's a ton of chocolate, because that's not going to work well to cut into later. Okay, just like that. And then I just leave the rest on the stove for later. It's not on, it's just kind of sitting there, just hanging out, because we'll drizzle that on the top later. Okay, so what I usually do now, see, lovely, I'll put this in the fridge or in the freezer, just somewhere that it can chill and harden that bottom layer. Okay, so now we're moving on to the next step, which is whipping up your coconut cream. So what I've done ahead of time, again, these are things you can do ahead of time to make it a successful coconut cream whip, because yes, it is possible to have it not whip up okay. And honestly, I would love to be able, so I just pulled these out of the fridge. So I'm just gonna set these on here while I'm giving you some examples of why it wouldn't work. Coconut cream can be finicky in the like not all coconut cream is the same. So try out your different brands. There's a lot of different brands that you're gonna find. Put them in the fridge, see if they solidify. The best brands I've seen solidify where you have a lot of coconut cream, which is awesome because it just makes for a bigger batch. But what you also want to be watching for in the winter months, if you live up in the northern hemisphere and it gets icy or really sub-zero kind of cold, if it's been on a truck and it has frozen, anytime your coconut cream has frozen and then thaws, you will end up, and so you have no control over that. When you try to do it, it's gonna curdle. So if you ever had that happen, that's what's going on. You never, ever, ever want to try to make the process faster and throw it in the freezer. Don't ever freeze your can. You wanna put it in the fridge, allow it to get cold, but not, don't freeze it, because again, it curdles. And then, I mean, it's still gonna taste good, but nobody wants curdled coconut cream, trust me. It looks like cottage cheese, kind of. It's just not, it doesn't look good. So basically, this is chilled. When you chill your your bowl and your beater, it will definitely make it a little bit easier to whip. So open up your can. This is one of, everybody always asks, what in the world? You don't use a hand one? I'm like, I found this years ago. It's one of those fun little kitchen gadgets. I can be doing other things at the same time. You're gonna make 2 batches. I'm just gonna make one really quick here so you can see how I do this. The coconut cream will have risen to the top, and what's left underneath is, it's kind of a little bit of water, oil, like it's part of coconut milk as a whole, but that part, when it's like blended in, if you're whipping the whole thing, it's not gonna make it that fluffy texture. It's just gonna keep it more of that liquidy, normal coconut milk that you would drink or use in Thai dishes and things like that. So I'm gonna use a thicker spoon because I am going to kind of scoop. You can see it's going to be thicker, the stuff at the top. We're going to get all of the thick coconut cream. Normally it's harder than this, where you can scoop it out. This one, oh, you can see the clear liquid at the bottom. So you're just going to try to avoid that as much as possible. And when I feel like I can't avoid it, that is when I stop, because I don't want any of that clear liquid. As much as possible, I don't want that in there because it's just not going to. So what I'm going to do is kind of mix up what's left over, and we're going to use that later on in the filling. So we are going to whip this. I tend to kind of forget about it. Let it do its thing. You can start, it's like getting thicker. You can kind of see the lines in it instead of it being like just a solid, like you can see ridges. You see the ridges? That means it's starting to like solidify, kind of like when you're whipping regular cream. So as far as how long you want to whip it, I usually about a minute or so, but as you can see, it's like it gets this thicker consistency. It has ridges. Okay, so it's going to have this thicker consistency. So it's not going to be, and it depends. Every brand of coconut cream is different. So every time you whip a different, like if there's different brands, you'll kind of get used to and find which one is your favorite. And you'll also know how long, like if overnight is like perfect, or if you can, you know, after a few hours be able to refrigerate it and have it, like you'll get a feel for how much time. But typically I just throw it in so it's overnight and it works out great. It's a little thinner than I normally would use, but again, it's still thick. It's not just, as you add more air into it, it's going to thicken up. But there are some brands, again, see which one is going to be the one that you're going to want to use, and stick with it. So we just finished blending up the coconut cream. It is definitely a thicker texture. You can tell there were ridges when you were doing it. It's kind of like when you're whipping up like egg whites or even regular cream, you know, at some point you can tell it's getting thicker. You know, that's where at the point that you want to get to. So now you're going to add your sweetener. Again, I use the powdered birch xylitol to make sure it's not spiking any of your blood sugar levels. 2 tablespoons is what I usually put in my coconut cream. Again, you can more or less, depending on how you like it. I wouldn't do any more though, because you don't want it too sweet. Later on, when we get to the rest of the filling, you're going to be able to sweeten the peanut butter filling to a certain point, and I usually like this to be a little lighter and less sweet for sure, to kind of counteract that. Okay. So as I said in the beginning, you want to make 2 batches. So one batch is going to be for in the filling, and another batch is going to be for putting as like a topping on top. And you definitely want to have enough of that amazing white fluffiness on top, and then you drizzle with chocolate. It's so beautiful. Okay, so that, if you're not using it right away, can be set aside to chill. Again, this is another one of those things, if you wanted to plan ahead, you could, okay, so again, back up 2 days before you're planning on making it. You know, refrigerate the coconut cream ahead of time and then blend the next day. Have the coconut cream whipped and ready to go for your recipe the day that you're going to make it. So what I'm going to do is I'm putting this back in the fridge, and then we'll get started on the filling, and then I'll be bringing this back out. I'm just going to give it a little more chill time. Transfer your coconut cream to a regular bowl and set it in the fridge to chill while you are getting the rest of your filling ready. Because you can't just put all the ingredients together and whip it up. It misses that certain something. The main reason why people can't get the peanut butter pie recipe to look like and fluffy like I do is because they skip certain steps. And with this one, you can't really skip certain steps. Okay, the next part is making the filling. So this is probably the part that if anyone has ever tried to make the peanut butter dream pie and has said that it didn't work out, it ends up looking kind of flat and greasy or a darker color. This is probably the step that you might have got a little bit wrong. So you know when you make chocolate chip cookies and one of the first things that they have you do is cream the butter and the sugar together. So this is kind of the same kind of thing, the concept. So just like you would cream together the fat and the sugar, so like butter, eggs, and sugar in a cookie recipe, you're going to do the similar kind of thing with this recipe with the coconut oil, the yakan syrup, and the xylitol. So you're going to whip those things, even though it's such a small amount, you're going to whip those things first, and then you're going to add the peanut butter. So we've got our coconut oil with Faith's handy dandy purple spatula. It's her favorite spatula. I always tease her about that. You're going to combine that with 1 tablespoon of powdered xylitol and a tablespoon of yakan syrup. So yakan syrup is a prebiotic, so it's a healthier kind of sugar. And it kind of has this taste of like molasses. So what we're essentially doing is we're kind of making a replication for a brown sugar, I guess you would say. It has kind of that caramely kind of flavor, but it has really good health benefits and doesn't spike the blood sugar levels. So we're going to take that and whip it, and you're going to have that same kind of thing happen when you're like butter and sugar. It starts out a certain color, and then it's going to get lighter because you're adding air into the recipe, into the ingredients. So it'll start out a certain color, and then it's going to get lighter. So I guess this is one of those things, I'm giving you a hint. If you've ever made cookies or a recipe that asked you to cream the butter and sugar together and you missed that step, that could be why your recipe didn't quite turn out. It's definitely an important step. I just scrape down the sides, and it has more of a lighter, fluffier texture now. Okay, and now from here, we are going to add the peanut butter. So your peanut butter that you're getting, you want it to be organic. You want it to need the least amount of ingredients as possible. So if you want to grind your own, that's great. I think you want to make sure that it's really creamy. So I always get a creamy version, organic, and that there's no, there's no sugar, there's no added ingredients to it, no extra oils. I know a lot of people like those no stir, but they have like extra palm oil. You just want, it's peanuts and I don't even know if there's anything else to the, I haven't even looked at which one that I got this one from. It's basically peanuts is what it is. It might have a little salt. I think that's what I'm thinking about, but no sugar, definitely no sugar. If you don't mind crunchy texture, I mean, you can get, like, I know a lot of people will like to grind it themselves, but it's going to be a little granular. It's not going to be as smooth and fluffy if it's not creamy. It's just 1 cup of peanut butter. You're going to blend this together. You're going to have to scrape it down. So I just kind of lightly blended that together, and then I'm going to add. So I say in the recipe to add up to 1/4 cup. So I tend to use 2 tablespoons. Like I said, don't do any more than 1/4 cup, which is 4 tablespoons. I would start with 2 tablespoons, and this is where you have to taste it. Find out what you like. So put the 2 tablespoons in, whip it up, and you want it to be just enough sweet, but not overpoweringly sweet. That's why stick with this. This is how I usually make it. But some people, you know, if you're just cleansing your palate and you're used to things being sweeter, you might want it a little sweeter. But over time, you know, that might change. So it's not a bad thing. It's xylitol, so it's not spiking your blood sugar levels. So we're gonna blend that together, and it's not going to be creamy anymore. So this is where, for whatever reason, it gets really kind of thick. I'm going to add, now remember that coconut milk? We had that little bit that was left over. So what we want to do is we want to add 2 tablespoons of this leftover coconut milk. Or you could just, if you didn't have anything left over, because sometimes you don't, there isn't, especially if you use just coconut cream, and there isn't any, then go ahead and use some regular coconut milk from a package container. You will need to scrape down the sides on this because, and this is where it's going to get really like thick. It's going to be thick. It's going to look almost like, I don't even know the texture, like a grainy, thick texture. It's not going to look smooth and fluffy. That comes a little bit later. But you want this to get well blended together. So as you can see, this texture is very, very different than what it was before. It's like chunky. It's sticking onto your, like you can see, it's definitely a different texture. Okay, you're almost there, but you don't want it to stay looking like this. So if you've ever had it stay looking like this, then you definitely need to follow the steps. So the next part, all that coconut cream, that first batch coconut cream that we whipped up, we are gonna add it, and it's gonna turn out amazing. So we're adding the coconut cream. Again, this is just 1 batch. You make 2 batches because you're going to put 1 on top when it's all done. But 1 goes in the filling. And if you think that, oh, I'll just make 1 batch and I'll just, you know, save some for the top, you definitely want a whole batch to be in this filling because it makes it super creamy, and it's just not the same without it. Okay. So now, if you watch this come together, this is a beautiful thing. Look at that! Okay, so you definitely want to scrape down the sides. So definitely take the time to scrape down the sides because all that peanut butter gets stuck on the edges, and you want to make sure you get it all blended in. Yummy, fluffy, amazing peanut butter filling. We'll set this aside. I'm gonna go get our crust. So, as you can see, after you brought it out of the fridge, that chocolate has hardened. This is gonna be really good because now your crust won't come up. You'll be able to spread it very nicely onto your crust. Look at that. Isn't it amazing? So spread it however you want. If you want to keep a heap in the middle, if you want it to be flat, however you want it to be. So what you're going to end up doing is putting it back into the refrigerator. If you want it to set faster, you can put it into the freezer for a bit. It's not a bad thing. I don't recommend putting it in there overnight, but you can definitely get it set for a few hours in the freezer and then keep it. You're gonna wanna keep it refrigerated at all times because if you leave it at room temperature, it's just gonna melt. And nobody wants a melty one. You want it to have that awesome smooth texture from having it in the fridge. So now what I would do is put it in the fridge and chill just a bit, or you can top it right away if you'd like to. I think I'm gonna set it in the fridge for just a bit and I'll be right back. Hi, so we're back. I set this in the freezer for about an hour or so to allow it to set. Now, from here on out, we'll be storing it in the refrigerator. But now it is ready for some coconut cream. So I had made a second batch of the coconut cream and we are just going to use however much you want to. I actually don't need as much on this because I guess it all depends. Do you want it on the whole pie? Do you want it on a portion of the pie? Do you want it heaped up in the middle? It's all based on how you want your pie to look. We're gonna go almost to the edges. Put a little bit more on top. And then the chocolate, remember the chocolate from that first layer? It should still, yep, it is still melty. So we'll take that and we will make all kinds of whatever kind of markings and squiggles and designs that you would like to make on your peanut butter pie. This is the fun part. And just like that, you are finished. So now what I usually do is I'll pop it in the fridge and let it set, let the coconut cream and the chocolate set. The chocolate will harden and it will be ready to enjoy whenever you're ready for it. I usually put it in for at least an hour, just let it kind of set and chill. And then you should be able to cut into it and enjoy. To me, in my kitchen, cooking from scratch is all about taking those recipes, those flavors, those things that you miss as a child or foods that you come to love at one point in time and you want to enjoy them again. It's rethinking, rediscovering those flavors in different ways, in ways that are healthy for your body. It's accommodating food allergies. It's understanding that it's not forever, it's just for now. I have to stay away from some of these things. For me, it's a dairy allergy, it's egg allergy, it's a gluten allergy. You know, at one time, this recipe, the peanut butter dreams pie, actually had gluten, it had dairy, it had all these things that my family and I, we can't really enjoy. So years ago, I converted that recipe to be a gluten-free and dairy-free recipe. And then fast forward, we started doing a no sugar challenge. And so I made it sugar-free as well. So that's what this is all about. It's about deconstructing recipes and recreating them with ingredients that you and your family can enjoy and they're healthy for your bodies. Everybody is unique and different. So you're all gonna have different needs. But get creative and understand that there is no two stories, no two journeys that are the same. But once you get used to cooking from scratch, it becomes a whole lot easier. I'm Christy Flynn, and this concludes another episode of Cooking from Scratch.